Sure.
So Scott, you were just telling me about your tool, and you guys have an app that is now approved on the Zoom store, and you guys are the first ones to kind of have this integration available for people on the Zoom store using conversational AI inside of Zoom meetings?
Yeah, so the underlying linguistics in tech we had independent and still have independent of Zoom. And then when COVID hit, just everyone went to Zoom, and all the interactions that we were looking at doing insights for moved to Zoom. So we just pivoted and went there. So we're in the Zoom store now, and we're in the process of finalizing a contract to bundle our software in with other Zoom software. So it'll be like in a bundle, and that bundle makes it like insanely cheap. You basically pay for Zoom and get 2 pieces of software for free. Yeah, we're doing a bunch of stuff that's designed to get this thing in the hands of as many people as possible, because ultimately we're a B2B play, and so this is a B2C opportunity that in some ways has found money, but much more importantly, it's about street cred and like proving to people that we have the goods. And so we're just trying to show people we can do all this stuff at a very low price without having to data mine you or store any of your information. Because privacy is super important to us.
Privacy, yes. To everybody in the conversational space, I feel like privacy is top concern. Wow. Yeah. And this was a big pivot for you guys in order to get this up, but you guys got it up and running quick. You got it in the store, and now...
Yeah, I mean, we were in the process. I mean, we built stuff that was on Google Pucks, so like Google Home stuff was all working, and we were building everything for that space and like sort of ambient computing, and that's where we were going. And then, building stuff that worked in the real world became less relevant. So microphone arrays didn't need to come into play as readily. So I can show you an example of the key to this is we want to build stuff that doesn't have to change your choreography. Because when we were doing stuff in retail automotive, that was the big sticking point for adoption. The feedback we got was, this thing was awesome, but I have to remember to use it. So if you could do something without me having to remember, that would be great. So that's how this one works. So the long and the short of it is you start a Zoom call just like you always do. And then once you do that, you just have your Zoom call, you end your Zoom call, nothing changed. And then automatically in the background, our system takes the transcript from your Zoom account that you've approved, runs it through our system, generates an email to you, and then deletes all the data from our side. So we process everything in memory and don't store any of your information with the exception of your email address.
Wow, so it's privacy first. You guys
privacy,
aren't trying to...
Everything is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I want this thing to be the beginnings of a free AI therapist that gets put on every kid's phone in America. And so we have to start with trust. So the way this tool is working now, I want to plug it into teen crisis hotlines because it can work real time. So I love the idea of plugging this in to help vulnerable populations. And so we're sort of modeling those standards before we need to adopt them.
Let's take a look. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you an example of a report from the other day. Let me just screen share. So I'm going to just do it as a photo just to make it easy so we can like zoom into it. And I need those tools to go away. There we go. So this is the email that comes. Really simple. Scott, you just had this conversation. Let's take a look. So the conversation was 3 people on the call, Scott, Dan, and Ryan. And we each get a caller. Pretty easy. And this was an early prototype. So this is now called curiosity, what is now called low on this graph. The middle is called focused, and the top is called compelled. And that's really the sort of the range of your commitment in a conversation. There's things you're curious about, and that would be a low level of commitment. And then when you're mid-tier committed, you're focused. And then at your high level of commitment, you're compelled to take action. And so you can see throughout the course of a conversation, people are going to change where they are as topics shift, which makes sense. And what you see a lot in a conversation is this 5 to 10 minute right there And then these sort of wavelengths happen as a conversation, a topic shows up. You open up the questions of that topic, and then as you address them and reach a shared conclusion, you see that sort of wavelength happen pretty consistently.
Whoa.
And when two people track with these sort of corresponding waves, like Dan and I did here, that's what a good conversation looks like. And then for the sake of this, we added Ryan. Ryan joined the call late. And so if they're not talking, they don't show up. And Ryan showed up with, hey, what are you guys talking about? And then got caught up with us and then ended up in about the same spot. So if you're part of the conversation and then you see this graph and you remember kind of what you were talking about, it really makes sense. And if we made custom integrations where we were saving the data, we could overlay the transcript onto this graph.
Whoa.
But for this deployment, we're not doing that because, again, privacy. But yeah, overlaying and like keyword analysis of when you guys are talking about these things, you've got commitment. When you guys were talking about these topics, like entity map it, then they're low. So we can do all that. Like I said, that would just be a really simple custom integration.
Wow.
So this is the first thing it does. It just gives you high level what happened on the call.
Right. This gives me so many ideas already in terms of talking with my own team or talking with clients or just like having podcast guests and seeing how well we align and how well we don't align. This is really throwing me through a loop in terms of conversational AI, and you were talking about how COVID-19 made it so that the real world was kind of put on hold for a while, and our computers are where we're inputting all of our voice right now, and you're tracking this in a very easy to follow way.
And an important part of this is the people who get excited about this first are salespeople, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so great for sales. But we've built it, and as you see what we put in the next sections of this, it's also about sales, but really it's about soft skills and effective communication that generate long-term relationships and rapport. And that's really critical for us, is what we're not trying to do is something transactional, because you could use this to get a sale or use it like on like Match or Tinder to, say the right thing or find out if you were saying the right thing. But that's very transactional. And lifetime value of the relationship, whether that's a customer or an employee that you're learning how to manage, etc. It's about giving you insights about how to be more present with that person and what you need to be paying attention to when you're talking to them. So here, I'll show you. Like this first section, we do a small section about you, and it's intentionally the smallest part because if you get 5 emails from us about yourself, like you want to skip that and get to the other people. Mm-hmm. But we measure the people in terms of their priorities. So in this case, instinct is the one that shows up here. You can already see down here, Dan is an order. So you can just see sort of what they're prioritizing on the call. Their communication style, physical, visual, or auditory are the 3 we pay attention to. And that really helps when you figure out how to follow up with the person. If you're trying to convince them to do something and you know they're auditory, a phone call or a podcast helps a lot more than if they're visual, then you want to send them images and videos, for example. And in physical and tactile is really what it is. Their emotions, their feelings, and their ability to get their hands on something is what's going to help them make a decision. And then their commitment level, obviously, is the average from this chart. And so the beauty of this is it's not personality profiling, it's not demographic, and it's not assigning a permanent label to any person. This is very much designed to be what they showed up like on this call, and these will change frequently on a person depending on the context of the conversation.
Interesting.
So it just gives you a couple bullet points here, and then we go into Dan, and I'll just kind of scroll fast. It gives you this much about, can I zoom out just a little bit, and then you can just see all of what it says about, So there we go. So this is what it says about Dan. And again, he's green because that's what he was on the graph, so it's easy to go back and look. Mm-hmm. So you get 4 general bullet points about Dan, and then you get 2 that are about how to follow up, like based on where they are, what you need to do to kind of take next steps as it relates to this conversation.
Whoa.
So Dan's commitment is low, and these are his other 2 values that were showing up on this conversation. So when you combine all three of those, it gives you those bullet points.
Whoa.
So it's not hard selling them, right? And it's not saying, okay, here's the bottom line on how to get to them. It's how to ease them through the process at the pace they're ready for.
Yeah.
And then how to work with Dan. And this is really a section that I think is very important. This is about how to have a long-term relationship with Dan and really understand how they work. And so these are just this section. I mean, these three pieces here, this is the beginnings. We have conflict resolution, how to mentor the person, how to negotiate and against and argue with this person if you don't care about your relationship with them and you just want to win. We have all these different applications that we've already built. So right now our system dynamically generates these insights, which means the email right now generates, there's like 28 billion variations it can have if it's two people having a conversation. And then, the more people who go up, those variations, obviously increase. But so it's 28 billion variables, or variations, I should say, in the kinds of emails that we're creating, which means that if Dan and I have 10 conversations, I can look at this 10 times and learn something new about him each time.
This is so cool. It's like the idea of being a centaur, of having half human, half artificial intelligence, because at the end of a podcast, I'll always think, I'll have an opinion of how the conversation went, and so will they. But the graph that you're giving and these data points, this is really, really interesting in terms of like the team meetings that I have, because we brought an intern on for the summer and had a little issue communicating with him, and something like this would be perfect in terms of, okay, I know I can feel that we're not aligning. This can help me to understand what can I do in order to progress that relationship in a positive way.
Yeah, and that's really the key is, like, again, it's not about sales. I mean, sales is one application, but when you bring on an intern, and especially if you're managing, 4, 5, 10 people, then, or if you're doing customer service and you're managing 5 chat windows at a time, the idea to have like at a glance insights that are simple, actionable bullet points that are just like, oh yeah, Dan is a bottom line thinker who values structure and organized information. He's not like me. I'm much more shoot from the hip. And that's why Dan and I have conflict right now. So when I work with Dan, I need to be mindful of these things. And it's not about good or bad, obviously. It's just about the way we all show up in conversations. So the way we've set this whole thing up, right now, as of this morning, we still have to be on a business tier of Zoom because that's where they have transcription. But the contract we're finalizing this week is going to allow us to bring that down to the $15 a month tier. So that makes it accessible to everybody. And then we're doing it as a freemium. So the way we're setting this up, because again, we want people to use it and love it, right? So it's free. And then you get your first 5 conversations that you host, your first 5 Zoom meetings a week, you get the full report on. And then if you want, first 5 each week is free.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if you want unlimited, great. Give us $9 a month and you get unlimited.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're giving this away.
Yeah. This is super exciting. Okay. Business tier is what it's accessible to right now. I don't know anything about the tiers. I think we use the free tier when we do use Zoom. The $15 a month tier is like an individual. If I wanted to just get it for myself, I could get it for myself, and then for a total of $24 a month, Zoom cost plus your cost, I not only get all of my Zoom meetings, but I also get an artificial intelligent assistant that's constantly sending me reports on how my conversations are going and how I can improve them and increase my soft skills, my emotional intelligence. Yeah,
and we're, like I said, we're looking to bundle that to make that number lower than $24. Like I want 1 million people using this thing. Like I really do. And we're setting it up that way so that we can also have, like, let's say it's you, right? And you're like, well, I usually use Google, so I don't know if I want to pay for Zoom. Fantastic. Get our free version. Fine. And then if you say this call was important to me, I just care about this one call, we'll give you the report on just that call for $3. And so they're just $3 a call if you just want to do them. So if you do, free for a year and you have 4 calls a year that you actually want to get the data on, we'll give you those. I mean, do it as often as you want for $3. And the $3 one is like a 3-page report on each person with like specific, like way deep dive stuff.
Interesting. That one I think went over my head. Can you explain it to me again? So
sure. So
I do 4 calls, but I get 5 for each month. But these 4 calls, I can. What am I getting by paying the $3?
Yeah, so get rid of the 4 because it can be any number, right?
Okay.
So whether you're doing the free or the full version, whatever, if you just say, okay, this phone call that I just finished, it's high value to me. It was an important conversation with an important person. I want more. You can just spend $3 and get a deep dive, detailed report on that person.
So it's a even more in-depth analysis on a single conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically take what is right now this, right? So it's 8 bullet points and 3 icons. So take 8 bullet points and 3 icons and turn it into a 2 or 3 page report with a couple different charts. And it's just deep into that person. And we make that $3. And we also have that set so if you want to buy like 20 of those, we'll give them to you for $1 each. Like
bundling.
We're really giving this away. We got put into an incubator that gave us a bunch of AWS credits.
Oh, wow.
And so basically we're just taking all our AWS credits that we were given and putting it right into this as an advertising budget. Whoa. And just wanting to flood the market with trust.
Yeah. And nothing like this exists out there right now. And with the number of people using Zoom, this is... I see why you're out here trying to show people how it works because you see it for 5 minutes and you're like, well, I use Zoom calls all day. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah. And if you did 5 Zoom calls today, what if you went back and looked at all 5 and looked at yourself on those 5? Or looked at if you and your business partner were like on like 3 calls together, you could look at both of you on each of those calls and see how those 2 people are interacting with each other, etc.
Using this on so many different levels, and it's so inexpensive. I would like to try this. I'm excited to try this. So for me to get started, what I need to do is I need to either I need to unlock the business tier, which whatever cost that is. That one sounds like.
I'll tell you right now, you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Because the business tier requires 10 seats, and that's the problem with the business tier.
Okay.
So it's like, for a normal person, like now all of a sudden this thing is $200 a month, and that's expensive.
Okay.
But that's why we're doing this bundling deal, because this bundling deal brings it back to $19 a month for everything all in, unlimited use. Like we're really going after the ability to make this thing affordable for everybody.
I want to tell my Google Assistant to remind me. When do you think I should tell her to remind me to check back in on this to try to... Because this is such a small investment for me to pay the 15...
Yeah, a week from today we should be up.
Today's date...
Monday the 15th or whatever that is.
Okay, wow. Monday, June 15th.
We're moving quick. I mean, we went from... It took us 5 weeks after COVID started. Like as soon as like everything shut down on March 12th, and I'm certain it was March 12th because that's when our like everyone's world changed. But for Cyrano and our company, we had like we had 2 8-month endeavors die the same afternoon, and like a lot of people, right? And so March 13th we got started on what are we going to do about this, and it took 5 weeks to go from there to in the store.
Y'all move fast.
Yeah, so we're moving really fast on this thing because our underlying tech was already built, and we just want to get this thing, the more people who are using this and giving us feedback and learning to trust our tech, that's how we're going to get our B2B integrations. And that's where we're really going to make our money. So empowering individuals, we don't need to make a lot of money there. We just need, to cover our costs and have it be our advertising budget.
Your underlying AI is, it seems like, the core tech. Do you think that this is kind of the long-term focus play? Everybody's using Zoom, we're all eggs in this basket, or is this just one interface to come on to your back-end artificial intelligence?
It's that. I mean, I have no, as a company, we have no business plan of putting a lot of effort into Zoom. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like, what we want to do is plug this into, like, I know I keep saying B2B, but we want to empower enterprise customers to use this at scale. So that we can be in Zoom and that we can work with one of these reseller bundlers and things like that are genuinely found money and found opportunity. Where I see this tool working better is in medtech spaces. I love the idea of post-surgically helping doctors understand how to give the person advice so that they're more likely to follow through in their treatment plan and improve their patient outcomes. Mm-hmm. I want to do the same thing in drug rehab centers and counseling centers and teen crisis hotlines. Like, that's a space where these insights don't just sell more widgets. That's the place where if the person gets this and is paying attention, it can save lives. And that's where I want this to go. So we're just going to start here.
You guys built this around COVID, but I feel like you're talking right now, helping make this available to every single person. And there's this, there's obviously a lot of turmoil in the world right now around George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and trying to bring awareness to a lot of challenges that one specific part of the community is facing and a lot of others have not. Have you thought about, does this have an application to the George Floyd protests, or is this much more focused into the COVID-19 Zoom wave?
You know, it's interesting. So my brother-in-law is one of, my sister and her husband are invested in our friends and family round, right? They're family. And he's a cop. And he and I were having a conversation about that exact thing yesterday, right? Because, he's a smart person. He gets it, right? He understands that there's a good reason that the public and the police force are not, there isn't a mutual trust there, even though we all know that a lot of cops are good cops, and we all know that a lot of people join the police force to help their communities, and we also know that there's been an erosion of trust, increasing erosion of trust, and most people on most sides want that to be solved. Whether they're, and the strategies for solving it, there's a lot of them. There's peaceful protests, and there's riots, and there's all sorts of stuff, and there's great cops, and there's aggressive cops that are doing it wrong and being totally counterproductive on both sides. And he and I were talking about, like, ultimately, effective communication is everything, and the meaning of your communication is the response that it gets. So it doesn't matter what you're trying to say. What they understand and how they respond is the communication. And so if we can actually have objective interfaces, right? Because this is a computer telling us. This is it measuring things. It's not just my opinion. It's data. Mm-hmm. And so if we can have objective data being put in that's saying, hey, look, you're really talking this way, and they're talking about, like, this thing, right? Let's see, does Ryan show up? No, Ryan shows up as instinct. So the one in between order and instinct is community. Uh-huh. And so if the police guy is showing up only as order, and the other guy's showing up only as community, they're missing each other on the priority in the conversation. And so if we can just say, look, you may be right about that, but we can show they're talking about this. So it's an apples and oranges thing. Whoa. And we need to help bring the conversation to a shared topic so that there can be resolution. So I see it as a wonderful opportunity for conflict resolution tools.
I love what you guys are building. I'm going to be back next week to subscribe to it. How else? I know that we've just hit our 30 minutes.
Sure.
What else should we talk about before? I'm already on board. Like, literally next week, I'm going to be signing up for Zoom, and then I'm going to be going in and downloading the Cyrano.
We can do all of it. We're making it one button. We're genuinely setting it up. I'll send it to you.
Actually, yeah.
We're setting it up so you click one button You're paying for Zoom, you're paying for our tool, and it's a one-click install for all of it with
Let's
all
do
the
that.
settings correct the first time.
Thank you.
And that's how
what I
we're setting
want.
this up. Like, yeah, everything we're doing is built around, we're going to make this so easy, you never have to wonder if you did it right.
I cannot wait. And is it okay with you if I continue? Because this kind of stuff I want to share using artificial intelligence on a regular basis. Is it cool if I share this on Voice First AI's social pages to say, like, look, we're using Cyrano's technology. These are the results that we're getting. This is how I'm acting on it as an individual.
Yeah. I would. That would make me very, very happy. I would love nothing more than for you to see value in what we're doing and to tell people that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're going to send me the link. I'm going to send you a photo of these notes. This has all been live streamed. Anything else before you let me go, or I let you go, and we move on to the sunny day?
Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Scott. I'm excited to try this next week.
It'll be cool. And by the way, we did it. We were just using the tool. So I'm going to send you the report of this call. And so anybody who sees this live stream and wants to say, okay, well, what's the system say about this? One of the things you're going to see is I talk too much. But you'll see other stuff too that'll be more interesting.
If you're watching this, I'm gonna add it into the tweet right below this live stream, so that way you can see the results. And awesome. Do you guys have a Twitter that I can tag you in?
Yeah, we do. It's the Cyrano.AI. It's something like that. I'll send it to you, or you'll find it faster than I can send it to you. Either way.
Have a good one, Scott.
You too, man.